For years, India punched well above its weight in global medical tourism. Competitive pricing, skilled doctors, and shorter wait times made it a compelling destination for patients from across South Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. The sector was growing, the ambition was real, and the government had programs to match. Then came the slide. Today, medical tourism to India is in a quiet but concerning downturn, down by 30% on year. Geopolitics, rising competition from other markets, India's own lags in health tech, a needlessly complicated tax instance, and a brutal visa maze are to blame. In today's episode, my colleague Forum Gandhi, ET's pharma editor Vikas Dandekar, and I analyze the problem, its roots and reasons, and possible fixes. It's Tuesday, the 21st of April. I'm Anirban Chowdhury. This is the Morning Brief. Hi Forum, hi Vikas. Very warm welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you, Anirban.
Thank you so much, Anirban. Good to be on the podcast.
Okay, starting with you, Forum, explain the downturn in medical tourism to me. Explain the story to me.
So basically, when I was looking at the data of Ministry of Tourism, it was a very surprising thing for me to come across the fact that medical tourism was seeing a downturn, which wasn't the case pre-COVID. And then there was 1 year in the middle in 2023 when there was an uptick. What we realize is this is the post-COVID era when people wanted to get their tests done and treatments done in India. That was 1 year where we saw an uptick. But other than that, over the past 2 years, what we've noticed is that there has been a downturn. So let me give you some numbers. In 2023, we had over 659,000 people who came to India for medical tourism. In 2024, that went down to 644,000. And as of November 2025, which is last year and which is the latest data that we have, that number has dropped down to 450,000 people.
So in percentage terms, that would be?
In percentage terms, that would be 30% on a year-on-year basis. And in 2019, this number was 697,000 people. That is down by a third now in 2025.
So about 33% in 5 years.
That is correct. Most of these people used to come into India from Bangladesh because of the conflicts that we have with our neighbors at this point of time. That number has gone down drastically. Besides, people from Iraq, Somalia, Oman, and Uzbekistan also used to come to India for treatments very often. That also has gone down gradually. So this is a problem because of the current geopolitical issues that are impacting India.
All right. We'll get to other reasons also. But before that, I want to understand how critical is this for overall tourism in terms of volume and value. What I mean to understand is what percentage of total tourist inflows are accounted for by those coming in for medical purposes.
Okay, so in the year 2024, about 7% of the overall foreign tourist arrivals in India were those who came for medical treatments into India. That means that those people who had medical visas and medical attendant visas that entered India. That dropped to 6% last year, which is 2025. And in January, that has come down to 4.6%.
But your story, Forum, also says that in terms of realization, revenues per patient is rising. Explain that to me.
Okay. So earlier, tourists from Bangladesh used to even come to India for basic small treatments or basic medical tests or medical facilities. Now that chunk has gone down. However, there are tourists who come to India from other countries who contribute to larger treatments such as oncology or transplants or, open heart surgeries and things like that. Earlier, even for the smallest of the issues, they used to come to India and get those treatments done. So, for example, there was one facilitator who told me earlier patients used to come to India for procedures which were worth, say, $3,000 or $4,000. Now that has gone up to $6,000 or $7,000 per procedure at an average. So for his company, while the volumes have gone down by about 30 to 40%, the revenues have compensated for that altogether, because the treatment size has gone up and the average stay in India has gone up by about 10 to 15 days longer, which was not the case earlier.
Do you have a sense of whether this is the case for the entire sector, revenue growth compensating for volume downturn?
Yeah, as we've mentioned in our story, Apollo has also seen, so Kolkata has been a hub for Bangladeshi tourists to come to India, right?
Correct.
Kolkata has seen an uptick in oncology related treatments from foreign patients.
Got it. One question to you on the challenges. One is, of course, geopolitics. The other is competition, right? Because you have other countries which are offering probably better treatment or cheaper treatment. Explain that point to me.
Okay, so other countries such as Thailand, Malaysia, these countries are giving India a stiff competition on 2-3 grounds. One is that they are marketing medical tourism very heavily in those countries. Secondly, they have a price competitiveness. And thirdly, countries like Singapore, they have a better medical tech. So, for example, one of the facilitators was telling me that even a small hospital which has only 100 beds, they have about 25 to 30 robots practicing on complex surgeries, which is not the case in India, even in hospitals which have, say, about 500 to 600 beds. Also, the fact that there has been a little lack of air connectivity in the recent past, that has also been an issue for medical tourists to come into India, which has been like an uptick for other countries like Thailand and Malaysia. Other than that, the UAE also has had an uptick when it comes to medical facilities. So they are taking doctors from India and employing them. That treatment becomes better for them.
Understood. One last question. Explain to me the problems in medical visas as far as India is concerned.
Yeah. So there has been a very heavy structural bottleneck when it comes to medical visas, which is also hindering the growth. So it takes approximately 30 to 45 days to get a medical visa in India. The government has been trying to bring that down, but certain countries like Bangladesh, that time has gone up to approximately 60 days. Even services like e-visas are taking approximately 20 to 25 days. And the documentation is extremely heavy for certain countries, which does not go well for tourists who don't have time on their hand and are getting an easier option in a neighboring country at a competitive price or a slightly higher price, but it is saving them time. So that is a big problem.
Vikas, I want to bring you in here. Would you like to add to this cost versus quality point?
So thank you, Anirban. Basically, in addition to what Forum just mentioned, the cost advantages are very strong, and that's what makes India a very attractive destination for tourists from across the world. There are also very strong tailwinds for tourists to come from Europe and US as well.
Right.
I'll give you a couple of examples. If it is to do with a planned hip replacement, the costs in the US is about $50,000. In Korea, it's $14,120. $12,000 in Singapore. Thailand is $7,800 odd dollars, and India is $7,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, heart bypass
50 to 7, right? 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
50 in the US, 7 here. Plus the wait time, a very lengthy wait can even go up to a year. Here
in the West, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They have long wait lists. Heart bypass, $144,000. In India, $5,200. Even the closest, Thailand, is $15,121. So the attractiveness of India as a medical value tourism destination is very, very clear. What is lagging is as Forum mentioned, a network of technology-led hospitals. When medical tourists come, it's always not about cheap healthcare
Exactly.
facility.
Yeah.
It's about quality and the sophistication and the care that is being given.
So if I understand correctly, volumes are falling, but in some cases, per patient revenue is rising. Vikas, net, is this having an impact on the hospital chain's finances?
I know of a hospital which derives about 25% of their revenue from medical tourism, which is quite a significant chunk.
Vikas, tell me also about the referral tax burden, which seems to be another problem.
There is a tax incidence which will come into play from 1st of April for medical tourism referrals, which will be charged on the hospital, the recipient side. It was not there before. So that kind of adds another, incremental burden on the hospitals. What will happen is that the prices will go up. They're not going to absorb. They'll have to kind of shift it to the patient or the consumer. So that kind of makes it a little more expensive for patients to. So if they are really evaluating which countries do they want to choose, it will, weigh on their decision.
Can you explain this a little more?
So most companies actually rely on referrals from other countries. Say, for example, a patient goes and checks, where a procedure can be done. So they probably will have a list of hospitals in which they specialize. These referrals or the medical service partners, they were actually not in the ambit of taxes. Now there is a GST, which the recipient company or the hospital chain will have to take. That kind of incrementally adds to the entire cost for the patient.
Got it.
Yeah. So that kind of will pose a little bit of a hurdle. Obviously, in a highly competitive scenario, that is not going to help. So one of the companies to which we spoke, they said that it actually poses a competitive, challenge.
Okay, another problem is weak insurance integration. And the problem seems to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, the fact that global insurers formally don't cover treatment at Indian facilities. How big is the problem, and what do you think is the solution?
So largely that is right. The point that you mentioned about weak insurance coverage. So majority of international health insurers are not empanelled with Indian hospitals for direct billing. So there will be many companies, but we know quite a few of the top largest companies do have that problem. Patients do end up paying out of pocket, and there is the claim for reimbursement is made later. And that poses a significant challenge. So the requirement will be to have a network of insurance companies who do a tie-up with Indian hospitals, and the entire patient journey could actually happen seamlessly.
Now, Vikas, I wanted to ask you, the government seems to have been pushing medical tourism quite a bit.
Yes.
Where is the lacuna? Where do you think the gaps lie?
So, this is definitely a big push. We also had one big program called Heal in India, which was like a comprehensive program to get tourists, so medical tourists, with the procedures that they actually want to get done, and also include Ayurveda. That has been in progress, but we haven't seen that result in an increase in the number of patients.
Anirban, if I can add to what Vikas just mentioned, India is promoted as a destination for medical tourism, but the smaller initiatives that, besides Heal in India, have to be taken up by states. So that largely remains the issue of the states, where the kind of money that they want to spend on marketing and promoting medical tourism for their state, which does not necessarily happen. And even for Heal in India, a recent answer in the Lok Sabha mentioned that they do not have a study on the kind of impact programs like Heal in India have, or the kind of addition that medical tourism gets through these initiatives or these programs, because there is no collation that happens at a state level for the central government to be able to add and attribute that contribution to. So that also is a problem.
Vikas, last word from you. Do you think we haven't exploited our brand as a wellness destination to its full potential?
That part I don't think has actually played out well. And promotion, campaigns from the Indian side has probably a bit lukewarm and not as strong as it should be. Because remember, for the same set of patients, there are so many other countries also which don't want to let their dominance go away. Most importantly, I think, while medical tourism is associated with the top tier hospitals, I think a new level of hospitals will have to be created which are catering to the patients which cannot afford the biggest names. So I think that probably will have a lot of impact going forward.
Vikas puts his finger on it. The next leap for Indian medical tourism is not about defending what already exists. It's about building what doesn't. A new tier of hospitals for a new kind of patient. Get that right, and the numbers will follow. Speaking of numbers, the cost advantage is still there. The doctors are still there. What's missing is urgency on visas, on technology, on insurance integration, on marketing. Other countries are not waiting for India to get its act together. And the patients certainly aren't. That's it for today. You were listening to this episode on The Morning Brief. It was produced by me, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. Listen to The Morning Brief wherever you get your podcasts. Stay tuned.